And welcome back to Dreamhack Winter with the Grand Prix. We have one more match left to play today. With me, well, again, Sotl, but we have a guest. And this is the first guest at our Dreamhack. It's one and only Ecop. He's on everything. And welcome.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Say something about your own performance here.
As you have seen probably when you tuned into Dreamhack Day 1, I closed out day versus Crane, and that was pretty good series there.
I think you just got outplayed, to be honest.
Well,
anyway, Crane,
if someone didn't see it, what happened?
Yeah, Crane ended. Crane ended up eliminating me because he got Doom off of York, clearing 8 minions and drawing a full hand. So
seems good.
Yeah. And then afterwards, Rag Wars in the Druid Mirror. But whatever, let's not talk about that. Crane afterwards, though, he didn't manage to get to the top 16, as you all know. He went 0-3 afterwards, after beating me.
Oh, feels bad.
And I went 3-0. So ultimately, I had a better score than him. I went 6-3 to overall.
At least some small satisfaction, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm happy about the result. 6-3 is a good result.
Yeah,
better than most players. So
that's true. How do you perceive the tournament from the last edition, because you were playing at the last edition as well, right, during Dreamhack Summer? So is it similar, is it better, is it worse? So what happened?
Not much really changed. I mean, it's still the same format, still last hero standing, best of 5, 1 ban, and yeah, sure, the cards are a little bit different, but ultimately, yeah, the same players, a lot of good players. Like compared to Dreamhacks 2 years ago, I felt like, yeah, back in the day there was like maybe 20% good players. Right. Now it's more like the opposite. It's 20% bad players, like 80% really good players here. So the field is always stacked and everyone's playing against a high caliber player all the time.
Yeah, that's true. We had actually that discussion that in MTG, an example, in Magic the Gathering, your Grand Prix has like 1K, 1.5K players, but 80% of them or even more are just bad players. So that's about it. Anyway, we have the last match. Who is playing in the last match, Little?
It's going to be Mitsuhide up against Pokrovac, if I remembered correctly. And we talked about both of these players a little bit in the intro, but Mitsuhide in particular has a little bit of a legacy here at Dreamhack. He's done relatively well in the Swisses coming in, but he's also won one of the side events. And I talked about this before, but when we say side event, this isn't just some casual thing that people are messing about in. This is just an absolute shark-infested pit that all the players that don't go through Swiss, Ecop yourself would have had the opportunity to enter this if you wanted to. And again, it's just incredibly high level. And when we talk about there being 80% good players here, a large number of those are going to go into those side events. And Mitsuhide has actually picked up a win in one of those. So very, very accomplished player.
But here we have the decks for Pokrovac or Pokrovac. I'm not sure exactly. We see the ban is going to the Shaman. Nothing new. We have Warrior, Druid and Warlocks standard, but there's a surprise here. Mitsuhide is actually not only allowed to play Shaman because the Druid got banned, but we have a new class.
A new class indeed. The Mythical Hunter.
Yeah. Ecop, what do you think about a Hunter class in general? Or at least in this metagame?
Wait, what did Mitsuhide ban again?
Mitsuhide banned the Shaman.
Yes.
Oh, he banned the Shaman. Well, in that case, it's probably a mid-range Hunter. Like, typically when you see people leave up Shaman, when they have Hunter in the lineup, it's usually the Face Hunter, which counters the Shaman pretty well. However, this is more likely a little bit more of a slower version to counteract Warriors and Druids.
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, Pokrovac himself, we didn't really get a chance to talk about. He's a player that made an HCT appearance earlier in the year, managed to get a large number of points and make it to one of the seasonal championships, which in itself is no small feat. I think, top 8s in card games is something that kind of has a gold standard attached to it. It's not really about winning over and over. It's can you be consistent and get your name into that bracket all the time? So reaching the top 8 essentially of an HCT season by making it to the championship is a fantastic achievement for Pokrovac as well.
I think we actually need to talk to Dreamhack about creating a website where they all have the results from every single Grand Prix with every single top 8, so you can always check that.
Seems good. Get on that right now.
Yeah, and then a top 8 deck list after that.
Yeah, okay. Well, now you're just living in dream world. Come on.
Maybe at some point, right? I'm just kind of living in the old world of real card games. I mean, not real, but physical.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure someone can do that.
Okay, now we'll be going to the match. It's Zoo, nothing new, versus the Druid. Guys, take it away.
Thank you, Lothar. So yeah, it is going to be the Zoo up against the Druid. And Ecop, as someone that actually played in this tournament, I guess you're uniquely positioned. We've seen Zoo absolutely snowball so many games in this tournament, and people's lineups haven't really been prepared to go up against Zoo. We've seen people like having to queue Zoo as the counter to Zoo. The 50-50 mirror is the best matchup they have. So that kind of speaks to the fact that they didn't really predict there would be that much Zoo in the meta. When you were designing your lineup, did you plan for Zoo to be powerful?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, going into this tournament, I knew that according to Data Reaper stats, after Shaman, Zoo was the second highest win rate deck.
Okay.
So that was overall expected to be a really strong contender in this format as well, considering that Shaman is going to be banned most of the time.
Sure.
So Zoo is the deck to beat for sure. And yeah, Druid definitely has a harder time nowadays that they all cut Yogg-Saron. Like only really when they play Yogg-Saron, they can stand a chance against Zoo.
Yeah, unfortunately you ran into the one Druid that hadn't cut Yogg-Saron, much to your detriment, but let's not harp on that for too long. But this feels like a matchup that we've kind of done to death throughout the last couple of days. The Zoo just swarming the board early, the Druid just frantically scrambling to try and deal with the early pressure and really just try and create some kind of swing turn with an Arcane Giant, maybe gaining some life with a Feral Rage along the way. But it's just so tough because even though they've got so many of these like 1-for-1 removal cards, the Living Roots, the Wrath, like it's just not good enough most of the time because Zoo just makes board states that are way too awkward for them to deal with.
Yeah, and generally the way you win as a Druid versus Zoo is by ramping into big drops that contest the Zoo board very well. Like if you get out a very early Ancient of War, a very early Malygos, then you can set up really threatening situations where the Zoo just has to sacrifice most of his board to just handle the 1 minion that you just played. And when the Druid is not able to do that, you just take too much free damage and the board just gets out of control.
Yeah, I think the other way you can possibly do it is if you just like draw all your removal early on and you just spend literally like 5 or 6 turns just removing all the threats, and then suddenly you get like a big Arcane Giant turn that you've been discounting the whole time and like swing the board that way. But those are two very specific things. Most of the time that kind of draw doesn't line up and the Zoo just runs away with it. But yeah, Pokrovac does at least have the Blood Mage swipe in his hand early on here. Blood Mage is an important tech choice to have if you're going to have a chance against Zoo, just to be able to get that spell damage swipe done for cheaper.
Yeah, definitely. Like Druid, I feel like it had a reasonable shot against Zoo back in the day, but now with the evolution of the Druid, hello. Yeah, I was gonna say, like they used to play like more Ancient of Wars or Barongen or Yogg-Saron to challenge Zoo decks much better. Yeah, it seems like Pokrovac actually does run the Baron-Geddon here, which is obviously a really good inclusion along with the Blood Mage Stalnos to be better positioned in this matchup. And yeah, it served him well. He's in the top 16.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think of this Zoo build, by the way? This is by far the most common build that we've been seeing, the Demon Fire Forbidden Ritual list. I think RDU had the Demon Fires but didn't have the Forbidden Ritual, but kind of overwhelmingly, we've seen these cards that kind of rotated out come back in for this tournament. Like, how do you feel about these additions to the deck?
Well, this is actually the first time I see Forbidden Ritual in today. So
okay, we've seen it on stream at least like 3 or 4 times at this point.
All right. Yeah, well, Demon Fire is an inclusion that it's actually pretty good. You have so many cheap demons nowadays, especially with the inclusion of Malhada's Imps. You can always go for a turn 1 demon into turn 2 Demon Fire and get a huge board presence that way. That is very hard to deal with for some decks, and Druid is one of those decks as well. The Forbidden Ritual, on the other hand, it is a little bit of a mirror, necessity for the mirror, right?
Sure.
Because when you are behind in a Zoo mirror, typically there's no way to come back. But Forbidden Ritual, along with Knife Juggler, is one of those ways where you can swing the board back in your favor.
Yeah, for sure, makes sense. It used to kind of be key in this matchup. You know, back when every list was kind of like the double Forbidden Ritual, kind of Sea Giant kind of list that we used to see before Wisps of the Old Gods came out. It used to be key in this matchup as well because of this kind of scenario. You try and like dance with your Druid opponent to get them to swipe you and then refill with Ritual afterwards, and the Druid was trying to do the exact opposite. So we might actually see that come into play right now. Prophet Felon in hand from the Shifter Xeris that he picked up from Peddler, but obviously that not going to come into play just yet. But yeah, how do you feel about the Ritual right now? Because although he saw the swipe, the deck lists are revealed to the players here, so he will know that that Geddon tech choice is in the deck that would have got completely blown out if he'd have played the Ritual.
Ooh, even the Frigid Snowbolt in the deck. So
this is that Stan Sifka build. It looks like this might actually be a Malygos, or a deck that doesn't have Malygos in it. That's what Sifka has been playing, apparently. Cutting the Malygos and putting Frigid Snowbolt in instead.
This surprises me in a way, though, because Pokrovac did not ban Shaman. I mean, he did ban Shaman, so...
Oh my god. Who gave Zoo a 4-mana 7/7?
Oh.
Who thought that was a good idea? No!
Wow.
That is insane.
Well, that is the power of Shifter Zerus.
Yup.
Sometimes really good outcomes happen.
Looks like it's just going to be tap and play. You have to play it, right? Your Zerus is not going to get better, like, for an actual curve play that fits your turn.
Yeah,
it's surely not going to get better than this.
And especially we all know how much Druids actually struggle dealing with those 7/7s.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Maybe, I mean, he does have to consider that maybe he's curving into the Ragnaros turn, and if he just drops a second 7 health minion on the board, the opponent's Ragnaros is actually really, really powerful. So maybe now this becomes like the opposite of the turn before, where he'd rather have the wide board that was weak against Geddon curving into the Rag turn, but no, that's all nonsense. He can't resist the power of the 7/7, jams it into play. It's going to have to be Rag, right?
Yeah, definitely. Rag doesn't get better than this against the Zoo.
This is actually kind of insane. Like, the board that Zoo's kind of generated is a very, very weird looking board, and kind of just uniquely for once, Ragnaros was actually really, really strong against it. Gets the second best outcome, but he'll just be happy that it didn't go face in that situation, really. He's managed to gain some kind of grip on the board now.
Pokrovac at least now can refill the board fairly well to make Ragnaros pretty much worthless. As the more minions you have, the more small minions you have, the more useless Ragnaros becomes. Of course, we see that Pokrovac does have the Baron Geddon in hand.
Yes.
But the way it works is that the Baron Geddon will obviously trigger after the Ragnaros, so no board clear and to potentially hit the 7/7. Unfortunately, not happening.
Yeah, picks up, I think that was Voidwalker that he got from the Peddler there, so he's actually getting some minions into play. A little bit that are resistant to Geddon at least, but the Snowbolt is on the board to be able to at least take a chunk out of that Voidwalker before the Geddon comes down. And even though the Geddon is less than perfect here, although the Living Roots kind of helps proceedings, he's still not able to get a clear on that 7/7 though, right? Because of the way the Orderings proc that you talked about. Is he able to do it? There's just no way.
Well, yeah, he can only go for 30% right now. That's the best he can do. Pretty sure he's going to go for it as well. Yeah,
he's in a rough spot here, so he just does need a little bit of luck to go his way at this point. But you know, Zoo isn't a deck that's got like masses of burst damage. It's not a deck that you're sure is going to have burst damage in hand. They do have like a large potential amount of burst, but it's very specific cards that are few and far between in the deck, just the Soulfires and the Doom Guards. So as long as you can grip the board at some point, you're not overly concerned with how low your life total gets, but he's going to need to try and take care of that Flame Wreath here as soon as possible.
To be fair, even if Flame Wreath survives, Pokrovac is still not in a bad spot, all things considered. He can take some more punishment. He has a fairly high health total here at 14. So 7 is not something that Zoo does that easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mitsuhide here definitely needs some help. Defender of Argus at least prevents the obvious lethal on the backswing here from Pokrovac, but he needs better than that. He really needs to be able to end the game this turn because he's kind of emphatically just lost the board here against Druid. There's no way he can really regain control of this. Obviously, Forbidden Ritual is just an absolute brick in his hand right now unless he wants to trade into the Geddon.
Well, the Forbidden Ritual is actually quite nice here. After all, it's still the same sequencing. Ragnaros triggers first, so Ragnaros can just hit one of those Forbidden Ritual tokens. And you can give 2 minions taunt here as well. So that saves you from incoming lethal as well.
Sure.
Yeah, and you can just push damage to the face here, I think. Yeah, Mitsuhide is in a situation where he needs to go for it this way.
Yeah, so he's set it up so essentially, from what he can see at least, Pokrovac will have to trade the Baron Geddon, which then means the 1/1s that he've generated just aren't completely useless. But the Wrath has come out here, and with the Fandral, that's now a 5 damage Wrath, meaning he can trade into the 8/6, could have done it already beforehand anyway, but that is a huge deal at least just to pick up another cycle here, but he's still going to be short. Even if he picks up Feral Rage here, it won't be able to be cast. Ooh, Raven Idol. Does that ever help? What 1-mana spell can get you out of this mess? So I guess Living Roots here on the 2-3 would be a complete board clear.
But it does seem like he wants to gain armor instead.
Sure, that makes sense.
And now hoping the Dragnos hits the Argus, probably.
Yeah. Nope.
Well, so Mitsuhide here has a window of opportunity to get lethal damage. Buffs would have been pretty good as well, but yeah. Two blanks.
Yeah, absolute blanks, and that was a really, really weird game from the Druid. You know, we both talked at the start about the ways that like Druid can generally win that matchup, but you know, just like curving Rag into a shot on a Flame Wreath Faceless into Baron Geddon, that wasn't one of the ways we really talked about.
Well, to be fair, Pokrovac runs anything but the conventional Druid list.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was not that unfavored like typical Druids are in this matchup. So with the addition of the additional spell damage minions, the Blood Mage Stalnos, the Frigid Snowbolt, as well as the Baron Geddon that obviously clears boards very well, Pokrovac has a very good shot against Zeus.
Yeah, he did put a pretty nice draw together in the end. Got the Blood Mage swipe, got a nice amount of early removal, and then the Baron Geddon that you talked about was huge as well. But now Mitsuhide is going to straight away snap queue that Hunter into the Druid, which puts a little more credence to the fact that you're saying this is probably a more mid-rangey list. Mid-range Druid, mid-range Hunter, sorry, does a really good job of generally like beating up against Druid in the mid game.
Yeah, typically it's really hard for Druids to deal with big boards already, which the Hunter, if it curves out properly, can provide. And with the addition of the whole Death Rattle effects, it's getting even harder to clear boards properly as the Druid. So yeah, even with the addition of the Baron Geddon and like the better swipes available to you, it's gonna be a hard time for Pokrovac to consistently clear all the Hunter minions.
Turn 2 Cat Trick picked up by Mitsuhide, and this is one of the most frustrating plays against Druid for sure. It's one of the hardest punishes for them playing Wild Growth, which is of course what they want to do on turn 2. So good that he actually forwent minion development with the Kindly Grandmother just to play the Cat Trick, and I absolutely agree with that play because Cat Trick is probably at its best against Druid, honestly, because it's one of it's the class where they are most likely to proc it, but don't have good ways to kill it before it gets to attack, right? Because Shaman can always get that spell damage portal together. Tempo Mage casts a bunch of spells, but they have Arcane Missiles and Flame Waker that can take it out. Druid just kind of struggles to stop it from attacking.
Yeah, even if the Cat Trick doesn't get proc, if a Druid is not playing spells, then the Druid is definitely not in a good spot in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Pokrovac hasn't really tested for anything yet, just passing on his previous turn, so he is going to Raven Idol here, get the sad news that this is going to be a Cat Trick.
But look at that.
He can take the Innovate, coin Baron Geddon. That's amazing. Unfortunately, he is going to pop open the Kindly Grandmother if he does so. So he's actually just going to set this up over a couple of turns instead and just bring the Baron Geddon down on a later turn. But imagine if he had a Moonfire there as well. That would have been insane.
That would have been sick for sure. Well, now what do we have? So most convenient would be a 4-drop here. I feel like if he sees that AoE clear coming, he should go for the Infested Wolf to give himself more board resilience, and that's exactly what he seems to be doing here.
Yeah, so now total, Pokrovac has access to 9 mana this turn, right? 2 Innovates for 8, coin for 9. So yeah, Wrath, Innovate, coin Baron Geddon actually works this turn and sweeps the board. That is an insane turn. He sees it straight away as well. He probably had the foresight to consider this, right? That the on-curve play was Infested Wolf and that he actually was there to deal with it perfectly, because it didn't look like for 1 second that he stopped to do the maths. He just snapped that play out, had it locked in.
Yeah, perfect clear for Pokrovac here, and gets a huge threat on the board in the process. And now Mitsuhide will struggle to deal with this. Of course, he can set up the Freezing Trap to return the Baron Geddon to hand, but the Baron Geddon can just sit there and consistently deal damage to the board. He doesn't even have to attack with it.
Right, the slight downside of that plan is that you end up, you know, doing 4 damage to yourself a turn, because obviously Hunter's like tapping hero power, and then the Baron-Geddon's doing another 2 to you, so you're kind of letting the Hunter do what it wants to do in terms of just whittle down your health total. But yeah, the impact that it will have on not allowing Mitsuhide to develop into this board is probably worth it, especially now he's picked up that Feral Rage to be able to stabilize later on.
Alright then. Yeah, and also so many spells with those double innervates being played made the Arcane Giant super cheap as well, which can come down next turn as well.
Spell damage swipe available soon as well. Of course, if the Drake is not dealt with, which I'm sure it will be, but also coming up soon with that Frigid Snowbolt, which is just such a weird tech inclusion that I'm seeing in this deck. But it's working out. Obviously, Stan Sifka in top 16 with this deck, Pokrovac in this deck, and top 16 with this deck as well. So it's obviously working out for these players who have brought it to the tournament.
Yeah, first time I saw Frigid Snowbolt Druid was when Stan Sifka was playing it at Game Goon a week ago.
Yes.
But he had a different approach there. He wanted to, it was Conquest, and he wanted to counter Shaman with it, right?
Sure.
So I'm still kind of surprised that Pokrovac decided to leave Shaman open because of that.
Face plan from Mitsuhide, actually just jamming as hard as he can, and that can potentially open up this Feral Rage to be game-winning here for Pokrovac. And yeah, straight away you just see him going immediately to it. And he's backing out for a second, but yeah, gaining 8 armor here and hero powering off the shield on the 2-1 seems like a perfectly reasonable turn.
Yeah, you always got to consider how much damage you can take with the mana available to the Hunter. Like how much damage he could potentially have, and that's like when you see there is potential lethal, that's the exact spot where you want to Feral Rage up.
I do wonder though, like I talked about this when he first made the decision to not freeze the Baron-Geddon. How much longer can he keep this hanging around on the board? Because the damage is adding up now, even through that Feral Rage armor that he picked up.
Yeah, there's an additional hero power every turn for Mitsuhide.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically the equivalent of like the Warlock matchups, right? The Hunter does so well in because they're tapping all the time, just doubling the amount of damage output for the Hunters. Like this cannot be allowed to continue from Pokrovac's side, but he needs that Baron-Geddon's board presence right now just to stop Mitsuhide from developing. So he really does need to time like the perfect moment to get that thing back off the board. Alright, Barnes is going to come out here. Even if it's a high main, it can be cleaned up relatively easily by this Baron-Geddon. That looks amazing. It's just not that impressive.
Yeah, well, but Mitsuhide just doing what he does, chipping away at Pokrovac's health. The Geddon working against him and with him.
So the Wrath here is interesting. That actually, well, no, it's awkward. It doesn't, even if he's going to try and use it to develop an Arcane Giant here instead of just using the swipe as his whole turn, it doesn't deal completely with the 3-4 on the board, and he will be a little bit afraid of dying, but he can't just let this status quo continue, right? Where turns just keep passing by with the Geddon in play. So he's got to make a push with this Arcane Giant that he has in his hand at some point. It's just, is that point now?
Yeah, it could very well be. He can not play it along with the swipe, unfortunately.
No, that's what I'm saying, he could Wrath the high main for 1 and then play the Arcane Giant, but that would leave the extra 3 damage of the Barnes in play, which is just really terrifying at this point. It also gives the opportunity for Mitsuhide to trade into the Baron-Geddon and then just kind of leave the freezing on the Arcane Giant, which would be a problem as well. So didn't look like it was a good opportunity, but he does need to find a point to really get that Arcane Giant into play and swinging as soon as he can.
There was the opportunity to go for like a swipe to the face and Wrath the Barn.
Sure, yeah, that works.
So he can dig deeper into his deck and also push more face damage himself. Digging deeper, of course, allows you to draw potentially more healing, which is also really important right now for Pokrovac.
Kill command straight away while he has the beast in play, and yeah, this Baron-Geddon is just turning out to be Pokrovac's downfall here. This again is such an unusual game, just like the last one we watched. This Baron-Geddon just, you know, being a strength and a benefit to Pokrovac. It's meant he's been able to clear the board every single time here, but unfortunately, it also means that he's just taken so much damage that this bow in hand from Mitsuhide is just going to be lethal. The bite, but with the Innovate here, doesn't have the mana to play it. He can now finally get those Arcane Giants into play, but it's too late. He's down to 4. There's bow hero power coming in from the Hunter. What a ridiculous game of Hearthstone, Ecop.
What a ridiculous game indeed. A super early Baron Geddon that has been uncontested by both players, really. Yeah. Like, none of the players wanted to handle the Geddon, and then ultimately the Geddon decided the game for one of them.
Interesting. Mitsuhide using the quick shot as well off the top there for the potential slight little tilt factor at the end, but yeah, that's insane. Just Baron Geddon hit the board. Both players were just happy to leave it there, and when both players are doing the same thing, one of you is doing it wrong, and that one turned out to be Pokrovac, who just could not find a way to get it off the board and actually just maintain any kind of tempo at the same time.
Yeah, it was a really interesting dynamic, and I feel like maybe Pokrovac should have returned it to his hand earlier. It does. Druid, after all, does have ways to deal with minions in other ways, but yeah, of course, the Baron seemed so convenient, right?
Yeah. Can you like pinpoint the turn where maybe he should have like returned it to his hand? Because it really felt like he needed it to like clear the board on each turn that he kept it there. It was really difficult to find the moment, right?
It's really hard to say because, of course, Baron Geddon makes it way easier to clear the minions. Yeah. Can't really blame Pokrovac for keeping it around for as long as he did.
All right, looks like we're going to see Dragon Warrior queued up now from Pokrovac into the mid-range Hunter. How do you feel about this matchup, Egop?
Yeah, it's a matchup I haven't seen in a long time, actually. It generally has been favoring the, I want to say the Dragon Warrior, considering that the Dragon Warrior's curve is slightly stronger.
Sure.
Because both decks, after all, they want to curve out properly. But yeah, the Hunter, of course, has some really good power turns, courtesy of Cloaked Huntress.
Yeah, that's not really something that was around. Like, last time Dragon Warrior was really dominant in the meta, the common build of Hunter was not the Cloaked Huntress build, right? Because that card wasn't really out yet. So it's not really something that maybe too many people have a huge amount of data on as to who wins this matchup. But definitely the extra power turns available to that Cloaked Huntress. And I'm not sure what the actual secret package is here from Mitsuhide, but if there's maybe a Snipe in the build, Snipe is actually one of the... or Dragon Warrior is one of the best matchups to have Snipe for.
This deck is reminiscent of what Amnesiac played in the HCT series.
Sure.
So it's probably just Freezing Trap and Snake Trap.
Okay.
Freezing Trap and Catrick, that's what I mean.
Sure.
So those are 4 secrets, and they are, which give Cloaked Huntress some value, but like you don't overcommit too much to the deck building by putting too many secrets in.
Yeah, it makes sense. Infested Wolf pickup here is nice just to keep the curve going. As you said, this matchup really is about just, you know, gripping the board as early as you can with the most powerful curve, because neither of these decks are particularly good at, you know, playing into a board. They're not good at like clearing a board and swinging the tempo in any one given turn. Blackwing Corruptor can do it a little bit. Eaglehorn Bow and Fiery War Axe do a bit of work, but generally if one player here gets a significant board lead, the other is not going to be able to fight back. So what do you like here? It does just look like a clean Infested Wolf turn, unless there is something I'm missing. Maybe the Huntress Freezing Trap is preferable, just to deal with that problem of the 3/6 that he can't really interact with right now, and that is what he goes for.
It is a little bit inconvenient when it comes to mana utilization, and also maybe there are better targets that you want to freeze later on. But then again, you have the bow on board, and yeah, a really tough minion to deal with right away. So yeah, if you can threaten the minion to get returned here and get additional bow charge, that's a really good play.
So this is the part that kind of bothers me about the freezing trap play, is that you're trying to freeze a taunt minion, so there's no obligation for your opponent to actually make the attack. So you pass to your opponent with the freezing trap in play, and they just kind of have the initiative to just develop any small minion in their hand to queue into it. There is the Snipe, actually. That's actually a really big deal, because I was about to say, it's actually a pretty strong card against Dragon Warrior. The amount of things that it can kill, Frothing Berserkers, Azure Drakes, Blackwing Corruptors, just all of those things go down clean.
Yeah, double Cochrane Elite that we see in hand as well, which might come down next turn.
But yeah, he is just going to have a problem, you know, trying to get any value out of this freezing trap right now, because that 1/1 looks like it's going to be able to proc it quite happily, unless he wants to do something absolutely ridiculous with Kill Command here. It's pretty tough.
Yeah, it does seem like Kill Command is Pokrovac's best bet here. Unfortunately, it will force him to use the bow charge, so there will be 2 secrets that don't give additional value. So maybe just because of that, Mitsuhide doesn't mind.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, the Infested Wolf last turn like clearly wasn't perfect, but trying to get the freezing trap through there just does seem a little ambitious, and you can see he's kind of got himself in a bit of a mess because of it. So I wonder whether he'll look back on that turn with any regret come the end of the series. But there goes the freezing trap. But now there is that little issue that we talked about, where Pokrovac might just walk into a snipe here, but again, the deck lists are revealed to the players at this stage of the proceedings once we get to top 16. So Pokrovac will know exactly what he's playing around here and might just be able to mitigate it with that Twilight Guardian in hand.
Yeah, could also just replay the Nuzos first mate.
That's true. Yeah, we saw it. I mean, that's the Tice play, right? The play that, you know, Tice got a lot of criticism for. It was freezing trap snipe against a Nuzos first mate, and
it was actually a Swashbuckler.
Oh, Swashbuckler. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Different pirate, different 1-mana 1/1 pirate. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
These pirates all look the same. Am I right?
Wow, racist. Damn. There it is. The 3/6 comes down, so he's just kind of happily developed a 3/2 this turn, which is absolutely fine because he already has a significant board lead in this spot. He's just buffing up his Frothing Berserker, dealing with as many of the beasts as he can, and this is so much board control here. He's even managed to put himself in a position where there isn't a good kill command target for the opponent, really, even with that beast still in play. So this was a really strong turn from Pokrovac.
Yeah, it seemed like the place to go with the Frothing Berserker there was to the face, considering it has so much attack. But of course, the board control here is very valuable. Yeah. There's no way for Mitsuhide to really punish this as well. I don't think there's any Unleash the Hounds or Explosive Traps in the deck.
Sure.
So, yeah, what you see is what you get.
Yeah, and crucially, he played around kill command here, right? Because if he just jams face with the Frothing Berserker, there's still that 1/1 Spider Beast in play, so kill command would have just come down on the Frothing, and yeah, he would have got a nice one-off swing, which maybe you can argue has some value because he has the Draconid Crusher in hand already, but I like the board control play a lot more because, as I said right back at the start, whoever gets the first, you know, real emphatic grip on the board in this matchup is just going to win with such a high percentage.
Alright, so Mitsuhide now manages to get back on the board a little bit here at least, but he lost so many cards in the process now, so much potential burst is gone, and Pokrovac still has so many resources available to him.
Yeah, and Pokrovac just getting constant value out of this small weapon. It's, you know, it's essentially just having a free ping for a non-ping class, which is representing so much board control here. And he hasn't played Finley this game, so he still has access to the warrior hero power, which if he grabs the board early enough with the constant usage of this small weapon, he will be able to just allocate some mana later in the game to make sure he's armoring up and playing around the burst damage. But that is a back-to-back high main from Barnes, from Mitsuhide. This man knows how to play some Hearthstone.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing here. And I want to highlight also that the fact that Mitsuhide actually didn't go for that attack with the last charge earlier and allowed the Nuzos first mate to get frozen is now paying off big time, because he does still have the bow around with the 2 extra charges. So that will provide some really good board control, and he's in the lead when it comes to health, so he doesn't mind running his weapon into minions, whereas Pokrovac in a situation where he does not want to do that anymore. He's super far behind when it comes to health here.
Yeah, and his hand is just really clunky at this period. He doesn't really have any fluid plays, any high tempo plays, Blackwing Corruptors, that kind of thing that can really start to reverse the state of the board. So it's just kind of 1 minion per turn at this point, and that's probably not going to be good enough against this aggressive start here with or this aggressive mid game with the Houndmaster to back it up. Still damage from the bow to come through as well. Cat Trick still to come into play to play around any slams or executes that might come out. This is actually all of a sudden looking really good for Mitsuhide.
And Pokrovac also sacrificing the Nuzos first mate just so Savannah High Main, the 1/1, doesn't have any minion to attack into.
Is a free 3/4 good? I feel like it is.
Wow, and now, yeah, even though Pokrovac managed to accumulate a lot of card advantage over time, he just ended up taking too much damage in the process from the Hunter, and now all of a sudden at 13 health, forced to concede.
Both of these players have their concede APM on point. They've both had these incredibly rapid concedes when they've been faced with lethal and no way to avoid it, but the serious matter at hand right now is that Pokrovac's hopes of a top 8 are melting away, and this man Mitsuhide, as I mentioned before, has a side event victory under his belt already at a Dreamhack event. He's now trying to go all the way in the main event, and it's surprisingly mid-range Hunter that's carrying him there at the moment, which has not been a deck that we've seen a great deal of so far, perhaps because of just the strength of Zoo, right? It's just, if you don't have those unleashes and explosive traps in the deck, as you've been saying, are probably not in this build, it's so hard to defeat Zoo. But in this matchup, where Pokrovac is not running a Zoo, he is running an unconventional Reno lock by the looks of things, suddenly the mid-range Hunter is looking like a stroke of genius.
Yeah, most definitely. It does seem like a deck that can potentially sweep Pokrovac's entire lineup.
That was a Jungle Panther that we saw in the opening hand, which means surely this deck has Curator in it, right? That's the only possible explanation for playing
Actually,
a Jungle
doesn't.
Panther. What?
So yeah, this list is basically what also a thing that Stancifka was playing in the game.
Okay.
So the Jungle Panther basically also a really nice tool to have. Typically, from what it looks like, the deck is geared towards beating Shaman, right? And yeah, having another Shadow Bolt, quote unquote, right? Which Jungle Panther usually is. A Shadow Bolt with delay, right?
Sure.
It's pretty good against Shaman, generally.
Okay.
And also, it's a really nice minion to have, not only against Shaman, but also against Zoo, to set up on a board where you can just follow up with Shadow Flame, for example.
Okay.
Sometimes a turn for Shadow Flame is necessary, and generally you cannot do it. You can't Shadow Flame on turn 4 typically, but the Jungle Panther makes it possible.
Sure. I mean, I can definitely see its usefulness against Zoo. Against Shaman, though, I feel like one of Shaman's most powerful tools is Spell Damage Maelstrom Portal, and you've just put another minion in your deck that just gets destroyed by Spell Damage Maelstrom Portal, so I will wait to be convinced on that one at least, but we'll see if it can do some work here against the Hunter. But again, Mitsuhide has got a strong Cloaked Huntress start here with the 2 secrets, and this Doomsayer from Pokrovac, if one of these secrets is a snipe from his perspective, he knows he's in trouble here.
The end is coming!
There it is! Boom! Unlucky, friend.
Yeah, well, this Reno lock, though, once again, like, so good against Shaman, so good against Zoo. You see the Mind Control tech as well, the Cult Apothecary, just so many good tech cards for this matchup. Soulfire as well works wonders sometimes.
I'm sure it's just not really the deck that you want to be queuing into this aggressive Hunter from Mitsuhide, because this Hunter has everything that you're not really set up to deal with, right? Like, Death Rattle minions are a nightmare for you to clear. The direct damage is a huge problem if you don't get your Reno in time. So this could for sure be a really, really tough matchup for Pokrovac.
Yeah, Pokrovac does have a reasonable amount of health gain and board control tools. Sure, the threat amount is a little bit lackluster in this particular deck.
Okay.
But that's not what you are looking for generally. Like, you want to buy time here in this particular situation against Hunters. Although Mitsuhide's Hunter, as you can see, with the inclusion of Ragnaros as well, it's just eventually going to overwhelm Pokrovac, it seems.
Yeah, it's very much looking that way. Although the 3-5 here, the Refreshment Vendor, does actually contest this this board reasonably well. Pokrovac will be scared of a kill command coming out here, which just answers this way too cleanly. But Mitsuhide, no such luck, but the Houndmaster even better than the kill command here. He can just load up so much damage here, and I don't think there's any real punish for just going face at this point on 5 mana from the opponent, right? Shadow Flame doesn't even clear your board, so face seems like a good plan.
Yeah, there's always the consideration of leaving minions up. Leaving minions up is sometimes bad because the combination of Power Overwhelming Minion and Shadow Flame is always something that you have to be worried about, but I don't think there's Power Overwhelming in Pokrovac's list, so Mitsuhide doesn't even have to take this into account.
Even if there was, like, 2-card combo this early in the game, like, is it worth playing around at that point? I don't know, but either way, he does decide to hit face. Pokrovac gets a little bit of value out of the Cult Apothecary now, so he is starting to use some of that life gain, but this is why Hunter is so effective against Reno decks. It doesn't even matter if they Reno a lot of the time. They have such sticky, aggressive, repetitive minions. They can just deal so much damage over and over again, and that's exactly what you're seeing here.
Yeah, so much damage piling on it. Mitsuhide even playing around the Mind Control tech.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Mind Control Tech in hand. Again, the deck lists are revealed, so Mitsuhide would have scouted this build, sees the Mind Control Tech is there, plays around it nicely. Siphon Soul comes out to gain more life, but the sad news is that it's Cat Trick as the second secret, so he doesn't even really take a significant amount of power off the board. And wow, this is just such a beatdown from the mid-range hunter.
Yeah, it's going to take nothing but a miracle here for Pokrovac to actually still stay in this game. So much damage on board already. We got 11 damage on board, plus the 3 from Quick Shot. So all that Mitsuhide really needs is 3 more.
So if he plays high main this turn and he goes face for 6, his opponent is at 11, which means high main on its own plus quick shot plus hero power is lethal. So yeah, no real reason not to trade in that situation. You're really only playing around Reno Jackson and Mind Control Tech as your opponent's out.
Oh!
And, ooh! The
Get
Mind
the
Control
high main.
Tech does get the high main, and now can he use Soulfire to keep himself alive? He can. He's definitely now in this game. Probably will still need to pick up his Reno at some point, but he's given himself an out.
Yeah, that is the much needed time that Pokrovac needed, but of course there's a lot of draws that can set up the lethal for Mitsuhide as well.
Mitsuhide's face, he's not looking happy right now, but he knows more damage still has to be taken off the board. There is the Soulfire though, so he needs some help. He needs additional damage, 7 damage right now from just what he can see, and then the quick shot for 10. Freezing Trap is a whiff, but it does allow him to get Secret Keeper in play as a threat. Wow, this one is turning out to be a lot closer than it looked for the first 6 turns. Reno could change everything here.
1 damage of lethal.
Yep.
That's not Reno, but because Mitsuhide didn't go for the quick shot, he gave Pokrovac an additional life tap here.
He did, yeah. So quick shotting that turn was worse against Reno in hand, right? Whereas like holding onto it is worse against Reno in the rest of the deck. So it's kind of which one you want to play around at that point, and it's about what reads you have on your opponent's hand and that kind of thing. He chose to hold onto it. Pokrovac here, obviously we can see he needs to tap Reno, but that's a 1 in however many cards he has left. He thinks it's more likely his opponent doesn't have the damage than him hitting exactly Reno Jackson. So even though this play looks foolish when we can see everything, it's actually probably the correct line. Mitsuhide though, with mid-range Hunter Ecop. Such a surprising sweep, honestly.
Well, surprising going into this tournament,
Sure.
maybe, but
Having seen the lineups, right? It makes
having
sense.
seen the lineups,
Yeah,
it's not surprising whatsoever.
absolutely.
Well, that was quick, but this time it wasn't swarm minions of small attack, right? It was just a big truck that he was hitting for tons of damage. The hunter was kind of killing it.
Yeah. Really, really impressive, and I think that pretty much sums it up. Is like before we saw the actual deck lists, you're like, oh yeah, Hunter's going to win 3 games this series. We just haven't seen that happen the entire tournament.
Correct.
But when you look at what Pokrovac had specifically, it's like, yeah, okay, mid-range Hunter's actually really, really well placed here. Maybe to the point where it was good enough to just warrant a ban from the opponent.
Yeah, potentially.
I'm kind of interested in if he was playing any explosive traps. That's the thing. But
Why don't we ask him that right here? There you go.
Congratulations for
Thank you.
advance to top 8. That's your first top 8 at a Dreamhack, correct?
Yeah. First top 16 as well.
That's quite a feat then.
Not bad going.
It's a thing to always aim for when you play in a card game, so be on a top 8, so congrats. It's a huge thing. My question was actually asked already, so do you have any explosive traps in your list as well?
No, just
Okay.
2 snipe, 2 freezing, and 2 cat trick.
Okay, 2 cat tricks, actually nice. Any questions, guys?
I mean, explain to me your reasonings for bringing that deck, because we've seen an enormous amount of Zoo in this tournament, and that particular build that you have is probably not the strongest against Zoo. So what were you thinking bringing the deck, and how well has it done for you this tournament?
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting this much Zoo. I was expecting like maybe 50% of the people to bring Zoo, but I mainly wanted just a good counter to Warrior. And also like the non-meta decks, so Paladin and stuff, just have that Hunter to beat all the greedy decks. But it did really good, yeah.
You must be really happy in the top 16 queuing into the guy that has Reno Lock and not Zoo, right?
Yeah,
like, that has
sure.
to be a good
For
feeling.
sure, yeah.
Ecop, do you have any questions?
Well, I mean, it's been an incredible journey over like 2016 for you especially. You had a lot of success as a rising star, pretty much, and recently picked up by Gamers Origin, of course. Like, what do you think? Like, care to comment about your journey to this point?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like I try hard a lot, but I still like you have to get lucky to perform in so many events in a row. So yeah, I think I got lucky, but also a lot of dedication.
Don't take it from yourself, man.
I mean, it's true. You need a combination of both, right? Like, he's not underselling the amount of work that you put in, but it's a simple fact. Like, you need to combine skill and hard work with that little bit of luck when you need it. So
True. It is a card game.
very true. Can't get away with that. There are cards involved, for sure.
Any shoutouts to your team, to your sponsors?
Yeah, my team, of course, for sending me here. My practice partners, teammates also, and PokerStars, our new sponsor. So yeah, shout out to them.
Okay. By the way, how many people from Gamers Origins were in this event?
We were with 4, and 2 are top 8 now.
Nice.
Oh, that's a nice result for a team. With
There's another pretty